Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down into a deep, dark abyss. That's how shocking it must have been for the people of 1453 to witness the world they knew crumble around them. This year marked the end of an era, a turning point where the old ways of life were swept away by new, powerful forces. Three major events in 1453 shaped the future of Europe and the world: the fall of Constantinople, the invention of the printing press, and the beginning of the Wars of the Roses. These events were like tremors in the earth, shaking the foundations of society and ushering in a new age. In 1453, the great city of Constantinople, which had stood for over 1,000 years as a symbol of power and civilization, fell to the Ottoman Turks. Under the command of Sultan Mehmed II, also known as Muhammad II, the Turks laid siege to the city with an army equipped with the most advanced weapons of the time. One of these weapons was a massive cannon, capable of firing stones weighing 800 pounds. The walls of Constantinople, once thought to be impregnable, crumbled under the relentless bombardment. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of the Byzantine Empire, and some historians consider it the end of the Middle Ages. But while the walls of Constantinople were falling, a different kind of revolution was taking place in a small German town called Mainz. A man named Johannes Gutenberg was experimenting with a new technology that would change the world forever: the printing press. In 1453-54, Gutenberg produced the first document printed using movable type. This was followed in 1456 by the first printed book, the Vulgate Bible. The printing press made it possible to produce books and documents quickly and inexpensively, which meant that knowledge and ideas could spread more easily than ever before. This was a game changer for education, science, and communication. While these events were unfolding, the English were facing their own crisis. King Henry VI, who had once ruled over a vast empire, began to suffer from a mental illness that left him unable to govern. This led to a power struggle between two noble families, the Yorks and the Lancasters, which erupted into the Wars of the Roses. The Wars of the Roses were a series of civil wars fought over the English throne. Unemployed soldiers and archers, who had returned from the 100 Years' War with France, joined the conflict, adding their skills and weapons to the fray. The violence and bloodshed of these wars would shape the future of England for generations to come. As these events unfolded, the world was changing in other ways as well. The Treaty of Etaples in 1492 formally ended the 100 Years' War between England and France, but 1492 is perhaps more famous for another reason. It was the year Christopher Columbus set sail for the New World. The discovery of the Americas marked the beginning of a new era of exploration and colonization, which would have far-reaching consequences for the entire globe. But let's take a step back and look at a specific story that illustrates the changes happening in this tumultuous time. The story of the Coucy family, a powerful noble family in France, is a microcosm of the larger changes taking place in Europe. Inguer, and the 7th de Coucy, was one of the most influential nobles of his time. He was a knight, a diplomat, and a political leader. The castle of Coucy, which he inherited, was a massive fortress that dominated the landscape of northern France. It was a symbol of his power and wealth. But after Inguerin's death, the family began to decline. His only legitimate son, Robert de Bar, inherited the title but had no heirs. The lineage hung by a single thread through Robert's daughter Jean, who married Louis de Luxembourg, the Constable of France. Jean's daughter, in turn, married into the Bourbon family, and one of their descendants, Antoine de Bourbon, married Jeanne d'Albret, the Queen of Navarre. Their son, Henry of Navarre, would eventually become King Henry IV of France. Henry IV was a complex and fascinating figure. He was known for his courage, wit, and charm. He was also a rational man known for his famous quip, "Paris is worth a mass," which he said as he converted to Catholicism to secure the French throne. Despite the twists and turns of his family's history, Henry IV became one of the most beloved kings in French history. The castle of Coucy, which had once been a symbol of the family's power, faced a different fate. It was damaged during the Fronde, a series of civil wars in the 17th century, and was further weakened by an earthquake. In 1652, Cardinal Mazarin, the regent of France, ordered parts of the castle to be blown up to prevent it from being used as a base by his enemies. The donjon, the massive central tower, survived, but the castle was left in ruins. The story of the Coucy family and their castle is a poignant reminder of how quickly things can change. The mighty can fall, and the seemingly invincible can be brought down. But it's also a story of resilience and adaptation. Despite the decline of the Coucy family, their lineage continued and even produced a king. The ruins of the castle, though damaged, still stand as a testament to the past and a symbol of the enduring human spirit. The same year that saw the fall of Constantinople, the invention of the printing press, and the beginning of the Wars of the Roses was also the year that marked the end of an old world and the beginning of a new one. The events of 1453 were like a storm that swept away the old and made way for the new. The world would never be the same again. As we look back on these events, we can see that they were not just isolated incidents, but part of a larger pattern of change. The fall of Constantinople marked the end of an empire and the beginning of a new political order. The printing press revolutionized the way people shared knowledge and ideas, paving the way for the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. The Wars of the Roses reshaped the political landscape of England and set the stage for the Tudor dynasty. And the discovery of the New World opened up a whole new world of possibilities and challenges. In the end, the story of 1453 is a story of transformation. It's a story of how the world can change in an instant, and how those changes can ripple through time, shaping the world we live in today. The events of 1453 were a turning point, a moment when the old ways were swept away and the new world began to take shape. And as we stand at the edge of our own cliff, looking into the unknown future, we can take inspiration from the resilience and adaptability of those who came before us. For in the face of change, the human spirit endures, always ready to rise to the challenge.